and welcome back to the Crafty Author. I'm so excited to be able to do this sewing tutorial for you today. We're going to make a fall-inspired table runner. So we're going to get started here shortly. I'm going to, just so everybody understands what the process is today, to cut down on the length of the video, I will explain what I'm going to do. I will show examples of what I'm doing, and then I will put the camera on pause and finish it and then show you what it looks like in the end. But you will definitely understand how to make it. So, what you're going to need for this project is you're going to need a jelly roll, and you can get these at Joann's, and you're going to need, I believe it's 19 strips. So these are 2.5-inch strips. And all I did with these was I just cut them in half because they come out pretty long. So I've got 19 of them cut and ready to go. I have made my binding for the table runner for when we're finished out of those same 2.5-inch strips. So all I did was sew the pieces together, and then I pressed them. It's very simple. I didn't do the more complicated way of sewing these together. That's for another tutorial. You will need a pair of scissors. You will need a rotary cutter. You will need a quilting ruler or something to measure with. You're going to need backing fabric. This is the backing fabric that we'll be using. I suggest getting a yard of it. You're probably only going to use 3/4 of a yard. And you're going to need some batting, cut to the same length as this. This is cut 54 inches. So just to kind of give you a guide. It's going to depend on how big you want your table runner to be. So 54 inches is about right for my table, for my dining room table. This is one that I have already made. It's a little bit Halloween inspired. So I will bring it a little closer so that you can see. This one I did with squares, and this next one that we're going to make, the fall one, we're going to do with strips. So it was done using all Quilt As You Go. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to lay out our backing. So you're going to want to lay it on a flat surface. And I just have a big table here that I'm going to lay it out on. And then, so you put your backing fabric down first, nice side to the table. Then you're going to take your batting and you're going to put it on, you're going to lay it on top of that backing fabric. And you're going to want to make sure that it's pretty evenly placed. And I see that my backing fabric is a little bit large, which is just fine. You want to smooth this out, okay? And then cut any excess off that you might have of the backing fabric, not the batting yet. I'm going to trim this piece off because we're not going to need it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find our center point. This does not have to be perfect. This is not a perfect science. So we're going to just fold it like right here. I'm just going to mark it with my finger. Okay. So it's right there. And then I'm going to flip the other side up and just mark it. So right here is where, well, let's try that again. See, things happen even on video. Doesn't always work out. Sometimes we have to repeat. Right here is line. Alright, so it was right there. Okay, so once you have it marked, and you don't have to mark it if you don't want to, I just find that it's a little easier to put things down when I'm working. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of the strips. Now I have my strips in order and how they're going to go, and so they're going to be all the same on one side and all the same on the other. So they're going to go in the same order. But this is going to be the first strip that I'm going to lay down. And I'm just going to put it right here, right in the center. And just like that. Okay? Then the next one, which I have in my strip group, is going to go on this side. I'm going to take the nice side and put the two nice sides together. And then I'm just going to sew 1/4 of an inch down. Okay, I'm at the sewing machine, and I did go ahead and pop just 2 pins in here just to kind of hold it together while I was transporting it to the machine. I'm just going to sew 1/4 of an inch down. Okay, since it's a little bit bulky when you first get started, you're going to probably need to stop. You're going to need to flatten out just a little bit, okay? Again, there's no right or wrong way. Just going to straighten this out. I went off the grid a little bit. I'm not worried about it though. It's going to turn out great anyway. Okay. So we've made our first row. Now, you can take this over to the iron and you can press it out, or you can finger press it, which I'm going to do is just finger press it for right now. Okay. Give that a good press out. And this is what we have so far. So I'm going to add another strip to that side. And this one I'm going to add, and I'm going to do it right sides together, so nice sides facing each other, just like we did when we put it together to begin with. Okay. I'm not a big pinner, but for this I will go ahead and pin just for the sake of holding it in place. I usually just move it along as I'm sewing, but you can pin it if you want to. Or if you don't, you don't have to. This is what it looks like with a couple pins popped in it. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. So it's just kind of holding it together so that it's not moving around. So now I'm just going to go ahead and sew another 1/4 of an inch down that piece. Now it will move on you a little bit, so you have to be careful with that. But it just depends on what you're looking after, or what you're looking for. And if you're overly concerned about perfection, well then you're going to probably have a lot of problems, because there's no such thing as perfection. And you know, it's your own art. It's your creativity. So just enjoy the process. So we have that sewn on now. There's that yellow piece. Okay. So I have gone ahead and finished sewing our first row. And this is what we have now. So we have the first side done. I'm going to go ahead and give that a press, and then I will start on the other side. But I wanted to show you, so when you're doing something such as Quilt As You Go, and you're doing like this, like a table runner or anything for that matter, the quilting is already done after you've sewn all the pieces together. So I'm going to show you what the back side looks like. And as you can see, it's already been quilted. Now, it needs to be pressed out, so it is a little wrinkly, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. So you can see that the lines are representing that, all that quilting. So once I'm finished putting the other strips on and then binding the quilt, it's completely done. And there will be nothing else that I need to do with it. If you wanted to get fancy schmancy with it, you could use your machine stitch, your decorative stitches on your machine to maybe quilt in the ditch, or you could do it on the actual strips themselves, whatever you want to do. Alright, so now we're ready to start the second half of our table runner with our strips. And I think I might have failed to mention that it's probably going to take probably about an hour to do this from start to finish. So that would be including like you're cutting the supplies and whatnot. You don't just have to do this with the 2.5-inch strips. It just makes it, it's just easier to do it that way. Like I showed you before, I did mine with squares. But even if you wanted like bigger strips, you could make them with the larger strips. It doesn't have to be 2.5 inches. That's just what I had sitting around. This really is kind of a scrap kind of piece for me anyway. I had the jelly roll just sitting around that I had picked up from Joann's years ago. And so I don't know if it's still available or not, but I know they have jelly rolls. And then this star fabric, the backing fabric that I have on here, I think I've probably had that fabric for maybe 20 years. So it's been a while. It's just what was in my stash. So you can use whatever you have as well. It doesn't have to be something that you rush out and buy unless you need it. You can use whatever you have around the house. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. Now I'm just going to go ahead and start squaring this up. Okay, and what am I trying to say here? I'm going to just line it up so that it will be straight. Not really too worried about the size because I know it's going to be fairly close, if that makes sense. If I was making a quilt, I would be a little more concerned about size, but at this point, I'm not. I'm just trying to make it straight so that when I what am I trying to say? Sorry. Losing my train of thought. So that I can just bind it and then get it on the table. So that's what I'm saying. It's not going to be that big of an ordeal this time for what I'm trying to do here. So, and I know this is a little off down here, and again, like I said, I'm really okay with it. I'm not too worried about the perfection factor for this. Because I'm just going to stick it on my table, and that's where it's going to stay. But I do want to make sure that I am lined up and that I am straight. I do care about that part. And as you can see, I did fold mine in half. When I have something that's too big, oftentimes I will do that, but you have to be very careful when you're cutting that way, because if you're not, you can actually cut too much off, and then it's nightmare, and you're kicking yourself going, why did I do this? So we are all done cutting. Ta-da! It's beautiful! I love it! I love it! I'm so excited about this. This is what the back looks like. It's all quilted and it's pretty. Yes! Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start putting on the binding. And I'm going to let you guys watch me as I do that. So give me just a second. Welcome back. All right, so like I had told you earlier, I had, before we started, I went ahead and made my own binding. And I just made it out of the 2.5-inch strips that came in the jelly roll. So it will match this. But they're I did different variations of it, so it will look a little different. I just want you to see how I did this. So I took 2 pieces of the 6-inch strips. I'm sorry, not 6-inch, the 2.5-inch strips. And I just sewed them together. Okay? And then I just pressed them closed like this. So I'm going to get started on binding our table runner. You want to take this raw edged side when you're doing adding binding. You want to put that raw edge to raw edge. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Actually, I'm going to start this one on the back. So I like to start my binding on the back. And then I will fold it. No, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm confusing myself. That's not good. Do I want to do it on the front or the back? We'll start it on the front. So, normally you can pin this. I don't pin. I've just learned how to do this without needing to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this starting edge over like such. And I'm going to create a neat little pocket so that when I come back around I can tuck the other end into it. It's a little bit tricky. There are many ways to do this, and I'm trying to show you how to do it the easiest way that I know how. So I just folded it down, as you can see. Okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and start sewing my binding on. Now, like I said, raw edge to raw edge, and you want to actually leave this open. You want to give yourself a couple of inches at the top. You don't want to start sewing right here. You want to start down below. That's what I'm going to do. And if you're confused, I actually have videos on how to do the binding that goes into more detail that you can actually see it there. 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to back stitch, and then I'm going to cut it and take it off, and then I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to fold, because I sewed almost all the way off the edge here, and I'm going to make a fold like that. So I'm going to show it again. I'm hoping that you can see it, because I'm kind of weird. This is what it looks like. You're going to come up. You can stick your thumb underneath, and it's going to just make like this little squared pocket. And then you're going to take it back to the sewing machine, and you're just going to start here at the top, and you're going to start sewing all the way down again. This is how we make a mitered corner. Again, if you didn't understand that and it was very confusing, I have another video on how to do that, on how to bind a quilt. Okay, we're getting back down to the edge again here. Going to do the same thing that I did before. My back stitch, pull this off, and I'm going to do that fold. I'm going to show you this again, and then I'm going to turn off the camera and try and finish this up. So here we are at the edge. You can see that I have about 1/4 of an inch left. I'm going to take it and just fold that up. Fold it up under. Now this one doesn't want to work with me now because it wants me to look like a liar. Okay. Then you have, oh, I'm so sorry. Then you have this folded pocket. So I'll try that again without going off camera. Fold up under. Boom. Yeah, too far over for myself here. Trying to show you how to do it, and I keep losing it. There we go. And there's the pocket. A little tip is to go ahead and clip the corners. What that does is it allows the miter to relax a little more and fall into place a little easier. I'm at the tail end of adding the binding, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on the camera and let you see what I'm doing, and then I'm going to show you the finished product. When I do the binding, I do a decorative stitch. I usually use a zigzag. I know my sewing machine sounds funny. It's because it's sewing through many layers of fabric. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not broken. And I'm sewing really fast. Maybe I should just turn it down. We are done. We are finally done with our table runner. I am going to show you what it looks like. Finished product. Been bound and everything. You can see the binding on there. And the stitching that I used. Quilt As You Go. Table runner. Now I'm really excited for Halloween and Thanksgiving. Just turned out beautiful. That's what it looks like on the back side. Just amazing. So amazing. Yes. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined me today. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please feel free to share my videos. If you have questions, leave them down in the comment section. Be kind. Everybody's going through something. But I do ask that you are kind in your comments. And be kind to other people. And then also feel free to share it all over social media. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you turn on notifications so that you can find out when I upload new things. So this is my first sewing tutorial for in quite a while, and I will be doing more of them, especially as the holidays are popping up. And I'll be also doing some Cricut tutorials and those types of things. So this is the Crafty Author, and I will see you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.